The line tool in the Painting tab consists of a set of options that allows one to create a continuous image element or solid color field used as a stroke. The line tool's default will start off with a single color variation. Left-clicking in the image workspace will allow us to begin to draw a line. If we click once and drag out, we will create a continuously straight line from our initial point to our next selected point that is created when we click again. This will continue until we double-click, which will end our line. Another way that we can do this is by holding down the left click and dragging. This will create us a line that we can use in any way that we wish, either by dragging out and clicking a series of elements, or by continually dragging until we let go. Both of this functionality works not only with colors, but also images. By selecting the image paint, we will switch over if there is anything that is selected. Otherwise, we can simply drag and drop an asset into the brush or stroke element of our swatches. Here, the same functionality can be demonstrated with an image. If I click once and drag out, I will create a continuous image from my starting point to the next point that I click. Holding Shift will limit my ability to angle this line between 45 and 90 degrees. Again, holding down Control. Let's turn on our grid here a little bit. Holding Control will allow us to snap to the grid and use the grid system to help control wherever our images end up. If we have no stroke selected, either color or image, we can turn off our stroke selection by this check mark next to the image thumbnail. Switching over to our fill element, all the same tools are able to be used here, except in this there will be no line and only the fill element. Thus, if we were drawing a floor element like this, we're only going to be creating the fill, not the surrounding area. This is true of regardless of if we're using the line, rectangle, or ellipse tool. We can still add to these elements as much as we wish or subtract from them. However, this is just the fill element. Holding down Control, I will drag out a rectangle of this floor fill. Here you can see we have a wooden floor. From here, we can switch over to our Edit Fill tab, where we can now interact with the fill element itself. As you can see here, and again, if I were going to make this smaller, I can just grab these elements, shrink it in here a little bit. I'm able to change the orientation of this fill element without changing its size or the image layout itself. It is just the fill element that is being adjusted here. Once the Edit Fill tool is selected, all of the different ways that we can interact with this system are now listed. Left click and drag to offset the fill image. Shift and mouse wheel will rotate this image. Control and mouse wheel will scale it. And we are also able to interact with the color even after we've applied this to the image workspace. Holding down R and using our mouse wheel, we'll be able to remove all of the red from this image. Same is true of green and blue. We are also able to hold down the T for the transparency of the image, making it more or less opaque. And finally, if we were to select an image such as this and go into our Edit Fill, we are now able to fade out the edges of this image by holding down F and using our mouse key. It should also be noted that if we go back into any of these areas here and using the sample settings from Painted Objects, we can grab the eyedropper tool and select this. What this will do is it will grab all of this information. You can see now that the fade is now set for this fill element. Dragging this out now will immediately create a similar image that we had set up with our Edit Fill. This is useful for now. What we are able to do is add to these images, much like we would be able to anything else. Going back into this area, we can smooth out any of the issues that we might encounter. This is very useful for doing water fills and so on. Again, with all of these tools, the only limitation is your imagination.